Looks like The Rock is paying his dues because look what he wore at the Met Gala. These celebrities sure do love to humiliate themselves.
The most masculine men, but not that I'm one of them, but the most masculine men wear lava and skirts.
Mr. Idris, can you see the fashion piece right here, sir? Can you see the front?
You don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about does following the ritual work. Yeah. And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear.
The industry is shaking right now because the mask hasn't just slipped, it has been ripped off and set on fire. Have you ever wondered why the biggest stars in the world suddenly look like they are auditioning for a nightmare or a fever dream the moment they step onto those famous Metropolitan Museum steps? We are talking about the Ultimate Gatekeeper event, where the price of admission isn't just a $35,000 ticket, but your very soul and dignity. This year the ritual claimed another victim, and the internet is in a literal tailspin, because Damson Idris didn't just attend the Met Gala, he participated in something that Katt Williams warned us about years ago. While the world was looking at the fashion, Katt Williams was looking at the submission. He saw the strings being pulled behind the scenes, and now he is coming for Damson's neck with a level of mockery that has left the entire industry speechless. Is it a fashion statement, or is it a calculated move to break a man down until he is unrecognizable to his fans? We are diving deep into the humiliation ritual that just went live, and trust me when I say that what Damson did in front of those cameras wasn't just for the aesthetic. It was a loyalty test that he passed with flying colors while his reputation burned to the ground. Get ready, because the truth about the Met Gala ritual is finally coming out, and it is uglier than the outfits themselves. The industry is officially in a state of emergency because the curtain has been pulled back, and what we are seeing is a level of desperation that is honestly hard to watch. For months we have been tracking the movements of the Hollywood elite, and the patterns are becoming impossible to ignore, especially when you look at the fallout of the most recent Met Gala. We have all heard the whispers about the secret societies and the backroom handshakes, but what happened to Damson Idris this year is the smoking gun that everyone was waiting for. You have to understand that in the world of high-stakes entertainment nothing is a coincidence, and every single fabric choice is a calculated signal of who owns whom. Katt Williams has been shouting from the rooftops about the price of fame and how it always involves a specific kind of public degradation, but nobody wanted to listen until the evidence became too loud to silence. Damson Idris was supposed to be the next big leading man, the one who carried the torch of hyper-masculinity and serious acting, but then he stepped into that circle of influence and everything changed. The rumors started swirling the moment he was seen rubbing shoulders with the wrong crowd, and since his very public and messy split from Lori Harvey it seems like he has been looking for a new source of protection. People are calling it the Lori Harvey curse, but if you look closer it is actually the Hollywood induction process in full swing. Steve Harvey warned about the types of men that surround his daughter, and while Michael B. Jordan seemingly escaped with his dignity intact, Damson appears to be falling headfirst into the trap. The investigative findings from our anonymous insiders within the fashion industry suggest that Damson was given a choice weeks before the event. He was told that if he wanted to maintain his trajectory as a top-tier star, he had to show that he was willing to play the game, and that game involves the very rituals that Katt Williams has been mocking with surgical precision. Our sources claim that there were leaked memos circulating among the PR teams of several high-profile black male celebrities, specifically targeting those who have recently experienced a dip in media relevance. The instructions were clear: show up, show out, and show that you are subservient to the vision of the gatekeepers, regardless of how feminine or ridiculous that vision might be. This brings us to the actual night of the event, where the energy was thick with tension and the smell of expensive desperation. While the cameras were flashing, Damson was seen wandering the carpet with an energy that many described as lost and subservient. He wasn't the confident star of Snowfall anymore, he looked like a puppet waiting for someone to pull his strings. The public reaction was immediate and brutal, with fans across social media asking what happened to the man they used to admire. The commentary from Katt Williams during a recent private set in Los Angeles was even more devastating, as he reportedly spent 20 minutes dissecting the body language of every man in a dress or a skirt that night. Katt pointed out that the fashion isn't about looking good, it is about the psychological break that happens when a man is forced to abandon his heritage and his self-respect for a viral moment. He specifically targeted Damson by mentioning that once you lose your woman and your pride in the same year, the industry smells blood in the water, and they move in for the kill. This is exactly what we saw play out, as the images surfaced of Damson looking almost unrecognizable, and the internet began to draw parallels between him and Lil Nas X. The confusion wasn't accidental, it was part of the branding shift to move him away from being a serious actor and into being a spectacle for the masses to consume. The corruption in these fashion houses goes deeper than just bad clothes, because they are reportedly tied to financial interests that benefit from the complete deconstruction of the black male image. Leaked reports suggest that major contracts were signed behind the scenes with the condition that these stars participate in these specific fashion rituals to secure future movie roles and brand deals. It is a sick cycle of pay to play, where the currency isn't money, but your very identity. We have reports from staff at the venue who noticed that Damson seemed to be under extreme pressure, with handlers literally guiding his every move and telling him how to pose to maximize the feminine energy of his look. This isn't just about a suit or a piece of jewelry, it is about the systematic removal of everything that made these men formidable in the first place. When you look at the history of these events, you see the same names popping up over and over again, and the ones who refuse to bend the knee are the ones who find themselves blacklisted or labeled as difficult to work with. Katt Williams mentioned that the reason he is so successful without the dress is because he never let them own his image, and that is why he can speak with such authority while these other stars have to stay silent. The backlash from the community has been a mix of heartbreak and anger, because we are watching our icons get dismantled in real time for the entertainment of an elite group that thinks we are too blind to see the ritual. They want us to believe it is just art and that we are being close-minded, but the reality is that the art is a weapon used to reshape culture in a way that serves a very specific and dark agenda. People are starting to ask the hard questions, like why is it always the most masculine men who are targeted for these transformations, and why is the push for this specific aesthetic so aggressive right now? The answer lies in the total submission that the industry demands, because once they have you in that outfit, they know they have you for life. They know you will never be able to go back to being the man you were before the world saw you in that state of compromise. It is a permanent stain on the legacy of these actors, and it serves as a warning to anyone else who thinks they can enter the system and keep their soul. The narrative is being pushed that this is progress, and that breaking gender norms is the ultimate form of bravery, but the people on the street see it for what it truly is, a loyalty test that most are failing. As we look at the financial crises hitting some of these stars after they refuse to comply, it becomes even more evident that the stakes are higher than just a bad review on a red carpet. We are talking about the complete control of a person's livelihood and their public perception. The pressure is so immense that even someone as physically imposing as The Rock felt the need to lean into the narrative to stay relevant in a changing landscape. It is a coordinated character assassination that happens under the guise of high fashion, and the fact that we are all expected to applaud it is the most insulting part of the entire ordeal. The fallout is only just beginning, because as more people wake up to the reality of these rituals, the louder the outcry becomes and the harder it is for the industry to hide behind the word art. We are seeing a shift in the way fans consume celebrity content, with a growing demand for authenticity and a rejection of these manufactured moments of humiliation. Damson Idris might think he is securing his future, but he is actually trading his long-term respect for a short-term seat at a table that will eventually discard him like last season's trends. The investigation continues as we uncover more about the specific occult ties that Katt Williams alluded to and how they manifest in the everyday lives of Hollywood's biggest names. The evidence is mounting and the voices of the dissenters are getting louder, and as we move into the next phase of this exposure, it is clear that the industry is running out of places to hide the truth about what they are really doing to our stars. This leads us directly into the consequences of these actions and the legal and professional traps that have been set to keep these celebrities in a state of permanent submission. The professional traps being set for these celebrities are becoming more intricate, and the consequences for stepping out of line are becoming more public and more severe. We are now seeing a wave of hypothetical legal maneuverings and private investigations into how these contracts are actually structured, because the level of control being exercised over people like Damson Idris is unprecedented. It is not just about showing up to an event anymore, it is about a total ownership of their digital and physical presence, which is why the fallout from this year's Met Gala is hitting different. When Katt Williams speaks about the industry being a burn room, he is talking about the way they take a star's natural heat and turn it into a controlled flame that only warms the pockets of the executives. Damson has entered a phase where every move he makes is scrutinized by a board of directors who care nothing for his craft and everything for the agenda. This is the part where the financial crisis starts to peek through the glamour, because if you look at the recent filings and the quiet cancellation of several high-profile projects, you see a pattern of redirection. Stars who refuse the ritual find their funding pulled, while those who comply like Damson suddenly find themselves in rooms they weren't invited to before. But at what cost does this access come when your core fan base is looking at you with a mixture of confusion and pity? The public backlash has reached a boiling point where even the most casual observers are noticing that the men who were once the faces of strength are now being marketed as fragile and experimental. This isn't just a coincidence or a shift in fashion, it is a calculated deconstruction aimed at ensuring no one man becomes bigger than the system itself. According to leaked reports from within the talent agencies, there has been a massive push to sign these actors to multi-year loyalty agreements that include clauses for public image modification. This is exactly what Katt Williams was mocking when he said they want to see how much you will take before you break. Damson is currently in the middle of a reputational probe, where his team is trying to figure out how to bridge the gap between the street-smart actor he was and the high-fashion puppet he is becoming. The anonymous sources claim that the tension behind the scenes is palpable, with Damson allegedly questioning the direction of his brand while being reminded of the millions of dollars on the line. It is a golden cage that is getting smaller by the day, and the bars are made of couture fabric and luxury watch deals. The humiliation isn't just in the outfit, it is in the silence that follows when these men are asked about their choices, and they have to recite a scripted response about art and expression. We saw this with The Rock, when he tried to pivot to his cultural heritage to justify a look that clearly didn't fit the traditional mold he was claiming. It is a desperate attempt to maintain a connection to reality while being floated into a stratosphere of absurdity. The industry thrives on this disconnect because a man who is disconnected from his roots and his fans is a man who is easier to manipulate and control. Government investigations into the tax-exempt status of some of these massive fashion foundations are also being whispered about in high-level circles, because the amount of money moving through these events is staggering. People are starting to ask where the money really goes, and why the price of entry into the Hollywood elite involves such a specific and repetitive set of degrading actions. Is it a coincidence that the most popular and bankable stars are the ones who have to undergo the most visible transformations? Katt Williams says no, and the evidence is starting to support him. The occult symbolism that was once hidden in the background is now being pushed to the forefront, with stars wearing literal horns and demonic imagery, while the mainstream media calls it groundbreaking. It is a psychological operation designed to desensitize the public to the ritualistic nature of the industry. When you see Damson Idris being confused for Lil Nas X, it isn't just a mistake by the paparazzi, it is a blurring of identities intended to erase the individual and replace them with a generic industry-approved archetype. This is the systemic erosion of the black male identity in real time, and the fallout is going to be felt for generations. The legal teams for these celebrities are reportedly working overtime to scrub the internet of the most damaging memes and critiques, but the tide is too strong. The public has lost its appetite for the fake and the manufactured, and they are hungry for the truth that Katt Williams has been serving up. There are rumors of major resignations within the PR firms that handle these stars, because the employees themselves are becoming uncomfortable with the level of degradation they are being asked to facilitate. One anonymous whistleblower stated that the goal isn't to make the stars look good, but to make them look compliant. If they can get a man who was a symbol of strength to wear a skirt or a dress, they have proven that they can get him to do anything. This is the ultimate power trip for the elites who sit in the shadows and watch the world argue over fashion while they consolidate their control over the culture. The financial stakes are so high that many of these stars feel they have no choice but to go along with the program, even if it means losing their soul in the process. We are also hearing about secret meetings between top-tier actors who are terrified of what comes next. They see what is happening to Damson, and they know they could be next on the list for a humiliation ritual. The pressure to conform is so intense that it is causing a mental health crisis within the industry that no one is allowed to talk about. These stars are living in a constant state of fear that one wrong move or one refusal will lead to their immediate downfall. This is why the sarcasm in Katt Williams' commentary is so powerful, because he is pointing out the absurdity of the fear that keeps these men in line. He is showing them that there is a way to be successful without selling out, but the path is narrow, and it requires a level of courage that many of these groomed celebrities simply don't possess. The corruption is so deep that it has become the foundation of the entire entertainment business, and trying to pull one thread threatens to unravel the whole garment. The fallout from Damson's appearance is already manifesting in his professional life, with reports suggesting that his upcoming roles are being tweaked to lean into this new softer image. This is a far cry from the gritty and intense performances that made him a household name. It is a rebranding that serves the industry's need for a specific kind of representation, while ignoring what the fans actually want to see. The public backlash isn't just about the clothes, it is about the betrayal of the character and the heritage that these stars are supposed to represent. When you trade your dignity for a seat at the table, you shouldn't be surprised when the people who put you there start to treat you like a servant. The investigation into the Met Gala rituals is only just starting to scratch the surface of the corruption and the abuse of power that happens behind the closed doors of the Hollywood elite. As we move forward, we expect to see more leaked documents and more brave voices like Katt Williams speaking out against the madness. The era of the silent and compliant celebrity is coming to an end, as the public demands more than just a polished image and a fake smile. We are looking for the truth behind the glamour and the reality of the price that is paid for fame. The situation with Damson Idris is a cautionary tale for any young actor who thinks they can navigate the industry without losing themselves. It is a reminder that the ritual is real and the consequences are permanent. This leads us into the final part of our exposure, where we look at the ultimate endgame for these Hollywood elites, and what it means for the future of entertainment as we know it. The strings are being pulled tighter and the puppets are starting to fray, but the show must go on until the final curtain call reveals the monster behind the mask. The endgame for the Hollywood elite is no longer a hidden secret discussed in dark corners, because the evidence is now being broadcast in high definition for the entire world to witness. We are entering a phase of the industry where the transition from human to commodity is complete, and the ritual involving Damson Idris is just the latest chapter in a very long and dark book. When you look at the fallout and the way the industry has circled the wagons to protect this narrative, it becomes clear that we are dealing with a machine that cannot afford to let the truth out. Katt Williams mentioned that the transition is secular, and that the symbols we see are not just fashion choices, but ancient markers of allegiance. This is where the narrative of Baphomet comes into play, as a symbolic representation of the blurring of all lines and the total submission of the individual to a higher and more sinister power. The fact that the word goat has been normalized as a term for greatness, while the imagery of the sheep is mocked, is not an accident according to those who study these rituals. It is a linguistic shift designed to align our vocabulary with the very symbols that are being paraded on the red carpet under the guise of high fashion and creativity. The financial structures that support these celebrities are also undergoing a massive shift as the industry moves toward a model of total debt and dependency. Anonymous reports from financial insiders suggest that many of these stars do not actually own their assets, but are merely allowed to use them as long as they remain in the good graces of the gatekeepers. This explains why the desperation to stay relevant is so high and why someone like Damson Idris would agree to a look that clearly contradicts his entire brand history. If the bank account is low and the bills for the luxury lifestyle are mounting, the humiliation ritual becomes a survival tactic rather than a choice. It is a sick game of financial bondage where the chains are made of designer labels and the prison walls are built with the bricks of social media validation. We are seeing the rise of a new kind of celebrity, who is essentially a high-end influencer for a hidden agenda with no agency of their own and no ability to say no to the most absurd requests. The psychological impact on the audience is perhaps the most dangerous part of this entire operation, because it is designed to break our collective spirit. When we see the men we look up to being dismantled and mocked, it creates a sense of hopelessness and confusion within the community. It sends a message that no matter how successful you are, or how strong you think you are, the system can and will break you if you want to play at the highest levels. This is the energetic feeding that many investigators talk about, where the mockery and the memes generated by the public actually serve to further the goal of the ritual. Every time we laugh at a celebrity in a dress or share a meme about a humiliating outfit, we are participating in the degradation and fueling the fire that Katt Williams is trying to extinguish. The goal is to make the abnormal seem normal, and to make the pursuit of dignity seem like an outdated and narrow-minded concept. The push for the transgender agenda, as described by Katt Williams, is not about human rights in the eyes of these investigators, but about the total deconstruction of the human identity. By erasing the lines between masculine and feminine, the industry creates a blank slate that they can rewrite however they see fit. This is why the imagery of the broken doll and the architectural costumes that restrict movement are so prevalent. They want to show that the human body is just a vessel for their creative and ritualistic whims. When you see a model like Aaron Rose Phillip being used in these shows, it isn't about giving a platform to the disabled, but about using a person's vulnerability to push a narrative of pseudo-virtue, while the actual people involved are treated as props. It is a grotesque display of power that uses the language of inclusion to hide a reality of exploitation and ritualistic abuse. Legal probes into the recruitment practices of major talent agencies are reportedly being discussed behind closed doors as more families of young stars come forward with stories of intimidation and coercion. The 18+ policy of the Met Gala being bypassed for the children of the elite shows that there is a different set of rules for those who are born into the system versus those who are recruited into it. When Blue Ivy is brought into that environment at such a young age, it is a signal that the next generation is already being prepared for their role in the ongoing drama. The cycle of humiliation and submission is being passed down like a dark inheritance, and the only way to break it is through the kind of radical honesty that we are seeing from voices outside the mainstream. The public backlash is the only thing that can slow down this machine, but the machine is designed to absorb backlash and turn it into more content for us to consume. The future of entertainment hangs in the balance, as we decide whether we want to continue supporting a system that treats its biggest stars like sacrificial lambs. The mockery from Katt Williams is a wake-up call to everyone who is still under the spell of the glamour and the flashing lights. He is showing us that the emperor has no clothes, and the clothes he does have are designed to make him look like a fool. We need to start asking why we value the opinions of people who are clearly not in control of their own lives, and why we give so much power to an industry that hates its own audience. The truth about the Met Gala and the rituals of Hollywood is out there for anyone who is willing to look past the velvet rope and see the ugliness that lies beneath. In the coming months, we expect to see a total reorganization of how these events are handled as the pressure from the public becomes unbearable. There are whispers of a new wave of independent creators and stars who are refusing to sign these loyalty contracts and are instead building their own platforms where they can maintain their dignity. This is the nightmare scenario for the Hollywood elite because a star they don't own is a star they can't control. The move toward independent media is the direct result of the industry's overreach and their obsession with these public displays of submission. Damson Idris and others like him may find that the seat they bought at the table is at the end of a very short pier, and the only way back is to admit the truth about what they have done. The evidence of the ritual is clear in the eyes of those who have been compromised and the stories that are starting to leak out from personal assistants and former handlers. They describe a world of total surveillance and constant psychological warfare where the celebrities are never allowed to be alone or to think for themselves. The outfits are just the visible tip of the iceberg of a system that manages every breath a star takes. As the investigation deepens, we will continue to bring you the leaked reports and the anonymous testimonies that the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. The era of the Hollywood secret is over and the era of the great exposure has begun. We are watching the collapse of a legend and the birth of a new awareness. The mockery of Katt Williams isn't just for laughs, it is a weapon of truth in a world of lies. It is time to stop being fans of the ritual and start being fans of the truth. The celebrities may be victims, but we don't have to be their accomplices. We can choose to look away from the spectacle and look toward the reality of what is being done to our culture in the name of art. Stay tuned because the next chapter in this investigative series is going to blow the doors off the industry once and for all. The question remains for you, the viewer. Are you going to keep buying the tickets and the merchandise, or are you going to join the movement that is demanding an end to the humiliation rituals? The power is in our hands to stop feeding the beast and to start supporting those who have the courage to stand up and speak the truth. Don't let the flashing lights blind you to the darkness that is right in front of your face. It is time to wake up and see the industry for what it really is, a house of mirrors built on a foundation of broken lives and stolen dignity. The fallout from Damson's choice will be a permanent part of his legacy and a reminder to everyone else that the price of fame is often too high to pay. We are documenting every move and every ritual so that the history of this era will show the truth instead of the PR version of events. The investigation continues and the truth will prevail no matter how many dresses they try to put it in. This is the end of the line for the fake and the beginning of the reign of the real. Keep your eyes open because the most shocking revelations are still to come. This industry is at a crossroads and the evidence is standing right in front of us in $3 million watches and pleated skirts. We have to stop asking if these rituals are real and start asking why we are still paying to watch them happen. Katt Williams isn't just a comedian anymore, he is a whistleblower for a generation that is tired of being lied to by people in high heels and hidden agendas. If you think Damson Idris and The Rock just following fashion trends, you are missing the entire chessboard while they are playing with your mind. But the real power isn't with the elites or the secret societies, it is with you, the viewer. Are you going to continue to support the dismantling of our icons, or are you ready to demand authenticity and respect back in our culture? Do you believe Katt Williams is exposing the ultimate truth, or is this all just a massive coincidence designed to spark conversation? Drop your theories in the comments below because we are reading every single one of them. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now if you want to stay ahead of the curve and see the truth before it gets scrubbed from the internet. The truth is coming out and you don't want to be the last one to know. Stay tuned for our next deep dive because this rabbit hole goes much deeper than the red carpet.